Okay, this is extremely interesting. When I first came across this information, I was not even looking for it. I think it just kind of flowed into my algorithm. So there is a civil rights group that is taking the ANC to court for crimes against humanity. So let's see what this article outlines. So the man on the right, his name is Errol Naidoo. He is a said to be a Christian activist. So he has a team that they have put together to establish a case against the ANC. So this was posted on the 5th of February 2026. I'll just read a little bit of it so we have some context. A newly established civil rights organization has announced plans to file a High Court application against the African National Congress, ANC, accusing the ruling party of negligence and constitutional violations that they allege amount to crimes against humanity. So when I first heard about it, I was thinking, has the ANC really gone to that level, that scale, that they could actually be taken to court? Um, I mean, whenever somebody says crimes against humanity, your mind more automatically goes back to the Holocaust. The Nuremberg trials, I think, is as as far as I understand, the first time a government was, or government leaders or political leaders were actually put on trial for crimes against humanity. Um, in my mind, I've struggled a bit to compare the Holocaust to what the ANC is doing. But when I heard and read more about what the civil rights movement is doing and the data that they have collected, um, it actually kind of shook me. So the NGO called together by attorney Matilda Wesley consists of activists, communication practitioners, and legal professionals who are conducting research and gathering evidence of corruption, fraud, racketeering, and money laundering by public officials with the aim of prosecuting them in the courts of law. Um, so we'll highlight a few things that they talk about. What the director Errol Naidoo says is, we have identified 4 areas of concern in which the ANC-led government denies the constitutional rights of the citizens. They are children's rights, race-based laws, freedom and security, and socio-economic rights, says Director Errol Naidoo. So their team has put together verifiable evidence on state-facilitated corruption that directly harms citizens. It's really fascinating. It really is fascinating. So he also goes on to say, while children starve, ANC officials loot billions from state coffers and live luxuriously, while 28 million citizens survive on welfare. South Africa's debt reached 6 trillion. Wow. 6 trillion, 76% of the GDP due to ANC corruption and mismanagement, leaving the country broke. Okay, when you put a legal lens on it, um, I'm not a politician. There's so much about law and politics I really don't understand. But I think the way it was explained, and I'll play a video in a few moments, where Errol Naidoo was interviewed, and how he explains the data that they have collected and the research. I personally, I think it does qualify. So he also goes on to call out an epidemic of violence. According to the organization, the same state neglect is mirrored in ongoing violence in the country. On the Cape Flats, children are murdered almost weekly, caught in gang war crossfire that government has failed to control. While across South Africa's rural heartlands, a crisis of violence and fear has been allowed to deepen, unchecked, says Naidoo, citing 2,519 farm attacks in which people survived since 1990. Okay, so let's go to the the next part of the information that I want to show you guys. It's really crazy. I think when you put it in perspective, I think if you're a part of the middle class, you may not be feeling you may not be feeling the effects of what the ANC is doing or what they've done as much as people who are low income earners or the neglected and rejected, like the colored and the Indian communities, the black township communities, and even the white townships. I mean, we have white townships where people are poorer than poor. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is a podcast called Alles Afrikaans. A really great podcast. I really love listening to this channel. So let's see what Errol Naidoo says when he was interviewed on Alles Afrikaans.
Crimes against humanity. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, it is a big one. I think it's overdue because the ANC government has been ruling for 30 years as the single major majority party in parliament. In the 2024 election, they were reduced to 40%. They are now a minority party and the largest party in the government of national unity, but they're still governing like they the majority party. So we're holding them responsible for a lot of the destruction of South Africa, the corruption, the crime, out of control crime, the murders, the gender-based violence that is not subsiding, not coming down, the destruction of the economy, the economic decline, the fact that there is no economic growth for the past 10 years because of ANC policies, and a whole host of issues. We've got water crisis, we have children dying of hunger in South Africa, we have 8 million children suffering from malnutrition to the degree that their growth is stunted. We have all of this in Africa's largest economy. It is unacceptable, Johan, unacceptable in a country with a GDP of almost 2 trillion rand and billions, hundreds of billions is stolen, misdirected, wasted, thrown down black holes by the policies of the governing party, the ANC. There are other politicians involved in corruption. So we're not targeting just one particular party. We're targeting all those involved and implicated in corruption, malfeasance, and the destruction of our country. So what Rescue SA Civil Rights Alliance is essentially, it's an alliance of like-minded people, South Africans, patriotic South Africans that love the country, love its people, and want to see South Africa prosper for the sake of the people. We believe that this alliance of activists and advocacy people and lawyers, legal professionals, we believe that you have to hold your elected representatives accountable, because history has taught us if you don't, you're facing disaster. And I think that's where we as a country as a heading. There's many warning signs, people warning, economists warning that South Africa's debt is out of control. It's heading to 6 trillion. It's almost 77% of GDP. We cannot borrow money anymore any longer. We have a very small tax payer base. We just see a report the other day that 1.5% of taxpayers pay 60.6% of all personal income tax. This is unsustainable. And the welfare, social welfare recipients is growing every month, every year. Mm-hmm. It's outpacing the taxpayers. And so that's also unsustainable. We're coming to a tipping point where South Africa won't have the money to pay all these social grants, these welfare grants. And what happens then? So there's warning signs all over the place. We have crises, water crisis. We had an energy crisis that lasted for many years. They seem to be getting that under control. Now we have a water crisis in many parts of the country. People are not getting water. We have an economic crisis. We have a debt crisis. We have a crime crisis. Crime is out of control. We have a Madanga Commission currently in progress. And we're hearing that top police officials in South Africa is linked to organized crime figures. Yeah. Organized crime has kind of infiltrated the police services of South Africa. And if you look at the crime, you can understand why, because how does the police service fight crime, protect law-abiding citizens if they involved in criminality? Right up to the police minister, commissioners of police. So it's a terrible situation in South Africa currently. I think most people are not aware of just how bad it is, because South Africa is now a bona fide mafia state. We have water mafia, we have construction mafia, we have mafia in the police, we have mafia in the economy, we have tender mafias. That even includes the president of the country's family looting the health department budgets, hospitals. It is crazy what these people are doing. And so the question is, who's going to do something about that? And we're answering that call. I think many others are as well. But Rescue SA Civil Rights Alliance, this alliance of legal professionals and activists, have come together to say we're going to stand up for the people of South Africa.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is extraordinary, because, I mean, I think a main reason that is motivating Errol Naidoo and his whole team is that he is a Christian man. He understands biblical principles. He understands the will of God for people. He understands the things that God loves and things that God hates. He is a family man. He fights for family. He fights for laws that protect family. And, you know, when we see in our country, not just in the country, in the world, the family structure has been always under heavy attack from the devil, very heavy attack. And it doesn't just attack families, it infiltrates into the school system, it infiltrates into the marketplace, into everyday life. Remember when I was in ministry school, they actually shared a report with us where they did an investigation, although this was in America, in the male prison, and they found that well over 90% of the men that were in jail came from broken homes. So there's a lot to get right in this country. I personally don't think that all of it is just up to the government. The government are in charge of law making and law correcting, but also the church is actually supposed to play a very massive role in countries, in nations, to see transformation and reformation, and ultimately to see peace. Unfortunately, in South Africa, currently the church is coming under a lot of political attack. I shared in an earlier video that I posted in the week about how the CRL chairperson wants to legislate the church and ultimately silence the church, which means pastors can get arrested for probably really menial things. So yeah, I mean, we see the fingerprints of Satan what is happening right now, not just in this country, but in the world. And also the fact that suddenly so many of our government officials are pushing Islam in a way that we have never seen before. I think that there is a tide that is turning, not just in South Africa, but in the world in general. There is exposure happening. I think it's necessary. It may look crazy to the natural eye, to anyone who may not be in touch with the spiritual heartbeat and biblical prophecy. But what I do know is that God, Jesus Christ, He will always win. And I really pray that whatever Errol Naidoo and his team are doing, whether they are successful in the courts taking the ANC to court for crimes against humanity or not, whatever it takes, it has to be stopped. This country has to be handed back to Jesus Christ. That is the only hope that we have for this country.